Welcome to the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel, brought to you and powered by InsideTexas.com. I'm your host, Justin Wells, and with me is my co-pilot, managing partner at Inside Texas, Eric Nalin, and this is our weekly Inside the Program. We do this every Friday. We give you a good little look inside the Texas football program, and we touch on a number of subjects. And today, there's no shortage of stuff to gab about, E. There's a lot of stuff happening in the last 72 hours in the college football world, and even more in the last 24 hours on campus on the 40 acres. Good to see you again, my friend. We're going to talk about a few things. We're going to knock out the most important early, and that's Steve Sarkisian and his new deal. Subsequently, we're going to talk about Quinn Ewers coming back in style. We're going to hit on wide receiver recruiting just a little bit, touch on a little bit of junior day info that I think is going to be relevant, especially with the D-line coaching stuff and Bo Davis. And then we're going to finish off with a little bit of a positive coaching development on the way. We're going to tease a little bit because there could be something really cool coming down the pipe in the next day or two at Texas and Austin. And so let's just get to it. Let's get to it. Last night, I want to say it was about 11:30 at night. Steve Sarkisian gets on Twitter and decides to dispel all the rumors, even though if you're a member at InsideTexas.com, and please like and subscribe to the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel. Please come see us at InsideTexas.com. It's a great time, great community, and it's the best opportunity to come hang out with us. Hey, he put out a tweet, and I got to tell you, the graphic design was probably the worst part of it, but the best part was the message. And I'm gonna zone read it to you, E. This was big, and this is something you had been reporting. I had actually helped out a little bit of that yesterday. This was going to get done, and it looks like it's done.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand why fans were a little bit nervous about it. When mighty Alabama comes calling for your coach, it's going to make you a little timid about your chances, especially for the fans that are still coming out. That are having struggling coming to grips that you're actually a fan of a very good, well-functioning, healthy functioning program right now. So you kind of got to put all that stuff behind you and realize that this is the dawn of a new era. Sark is a major part of that, along with the brain trust behind the scenes. They're a perfect match. Sark and the administration are in 100% alignment. They have been since the day he was hired. So I was not concerned about this. The timing just made it a little interesting. Everybody knew that Sark was in the middle of negotiating an extension. Talk about having a gift dropped in your lap with a little increased leverage. But at the same time, Sark's not the type to overplay his hand on that, because he does know that Texas is the better situation for him at this time. Texas really is positioned well to become the new Alabama in this crazy NIL climate.
We talked about this in the live stream a couple of days ago, and I talked about it with X's and O's with Paul and Ian yesterday. Why would you build up a program to beat Alabama and then turn around and leave that program to go jump in there? Almost not a backwards move, but certainly a lateral in a sense. And it just didn't make sense. And plus, Sark, you've mentioned this. This is a West Coast guy. This is a guy that's he's not, he was refined and rejuvenated in Tuscaloosa, but that was never going to be his ending point. Yeah. This guy, he's an Austin guy, and it made a lot of sense, that this gets done. I love that his lovely wife L'Oreal Sarkisian also tweeted out. Hers was a little more plain, a little more simple, just a all caps Texas, and the queen of Texas football is always going to be paid attention to, and so I think last night it really. It crushed a lot of Alabama fans, because we're realizing over the last few days how much Alabama loves Sark. Yeah. I mean, we knew they liked him when he left. They were very, 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 gracious. I didn't realize the fan base and the boosters were so in line with wanting him, but it makes sense now. And like you said, it proves Texas has the right man. It proved that Texas got the right guy.
You say he's a West Coast guy and Austin's a better fit, and I definitely agree with that 100%. But it only matters to the degree it does because Texas is trying to win. He's a football coach first and foremost, and if he wasn't getting the support that he needed at Texas to win championships, he'd go to Alabama. But Texas is back to acting like a football school after a bit of a malaise there for a decade or so, where I don't think the coaches had the resources, or I don't think the school had the resolve to put football on the pedestal that it deserves to be. So, it's the match made in heaven, because they do have the resolve to win at a high level consistently and over the long term. but also, it's a good fit for him culturally. It's an easy recruiting territory for him to get back to California, direct flights to about 5 airports in SoCal. It really is a match made in heaven, and all parties realized it. It isn't just Texas wanting him or him wanting Texas. Both parties wanted each other, and that was going to always make a deal easy to come by.
It's a nice marriage. It's your old school typical nice marriage. Everyone's happy. Everyone's in the right frame of mind. And it's big. It's certainly big because it shows Texas can keep their guy when they want to keep their guy. You're not. There's no upgrade after Texas. Texas is the upgrade, and so to me it just cements that as a foundational piece. Big. This is big. Sark staying. We pretty much knew it. It's pretty much done. We're fired up about that. I want to go ahead and pay the bill real quick and give a nice little shout to Andre the lawyer. Andre the lawyer, give him a call. This is one of the big time lawyers located in Dallas, Texas. He helps injured Longhorns with car wrecks, slip and falls, 18-wheeler accidents, wrongful deaths, on the job injuries. Andre is a proud Inside Texas member. He's been with us for a long time. He's a great guy. If you ever need him, that's the guy you need to call. He will be absolutely fantastic. 214-444-8808. That's Andre the lawyer. Hey, if you're ever in that position and you need to make that call, Andre's the guy. Be sure and call him. 214-444-8808. All right. If one thing can overshadow returning your 2-year starting quarterback who took a giant leap in last season in 2023, it's Sark's, sticking around in Austin for the foreseeable future. But guess what? Quinn Ewers is coming back. And we're not going to act shocked. We're not, because I think we kind of have been mentioning this and reporting this, it feels like, for maybe over 2 months, about 2 months roughly. But it's kind of been spoken about and reported and talked about. Quinn came out with it. He signed a football card that says, "I'm coming back. I've already tried to find it. It's going to be a high dollar item." Yeah. With Quinn coming back, just how big is this, Eric? I mean, 2-year starter, big jump last year. How big, man?
Well, I think that card's going to be worth a lot more in a year. I think there's a chance he's going to be at front and center of the Heisman consideration. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he's in New York next year this time. Yeah, it's huge. And I was glad he did it when he did, because there was still a lot of consternation with fans wondering if Sark was going to come back or listen to Alabama. Obviously, that was a leading indicator that he's got assurances that Sark's coming back. So yeah, it's huge. He's going to take another big step. It's everybody thinks development is linear. It doesn't happen that way. There's going to be some ups and downs. You just hope there are more ups along the way. And he's going to take another step as a drop back passer, and that's when we're really going to see this offense hit another gear, when they start going from 30s to low 40s up into the higher 40s and really blow teams out. That's really going to be the next step. That may be becoming a little bit more of a playmaker, see the play develop in front of him a little bit quicker. But, there's things for him to improve, but he comes back and sets a very, very high floor for the offense, at minimum, between him maturing as a passer and an expected bounce in the run game. I think the offense is going to hit a whole nother level.
And the thing about Quinn, if you're an Inside Texas subscriber, you know that Arch Manning is all Texas. He's not going anywhere. And of course, when the Quinn Ewers news came out a few days ago, the first question was, well, Arch Manning, he's going to hit the portal. And you and I have had to deal with that question probably more than we want to admit. And I don't think we could be more stern in our messaging that the Mannings don't even understand what a transfer portal is. That's not something in their mindset that even works. Arch Manning loves Texas, loves Sark, loves Austin, and his little brother's enrolling in June. The Mannings are trying to build a legacy potentially in Austin.
Yeah, when Arch was interviewed in New Orleans, it looked like he was reading old recruiting updates from Inside Texas, because everything he was saying about wanting to blend into the school, feeling comfortable there, just being one of the guys, all these things really came out in that interview setting. So he's perfectly happy there. It's a school he wanted to go to for a long time. It's where he was the most comfortable. He's in no hurry. They take a longer view of things. I think he's maybe a little bit disappointed in not playing or expecting to play as much next year. That's only because he is indeed competitive. All the Mannings are competitive that way. But they put the big picture, and the most important thing is long-term development. What's good for him long-term. And the Mannings don't think about a 3 or 4 year college career. They think about 15 years and becoming a legendary quarterback in the NFL and winning Super Bowls. And I think that big picture view makes this a lot easier for Sark to navigate. A lot of other coaches might have had trouble, but a lot of other coaches would have had trouble getting Arch in the first place.
Oh, man. I can't wait for the Texas chapter in the book of Manning. That's going to be the 30 for 30 that you and I made.
I can wait. We've got 3 years of Sark having a championship window because of his quarterback play. A 3 year, and it's a very plausible window when you look at the offensive line and all the other talent, the younger talent in the defensive ranks. It's a plausible 3 year championship window. They're going to get one in there. I feel really good about it.
And you use the term fact pattern a lot. And if you follow it, why would Sark leave a Quinn Ewers and an Arch Manning? There's almost every program in the country would want to trade shoes with Sark. He's got this thing well oiled. And so we'll pivot that to wide receiver recruiting, because that's going to be, Sark's in, Ewers in, Arch is in. The running game's going to come back good, returning a ton of offensive linemen with experience. That wide receiver room's taking a hit, Adnan Mitchell, which you reported early on. He's declaring. Xavier Worthy, we kind of knew that man was always going to go to greener pastures, and he's going to thrive. Jordan Whittington, the bleeding for the program type guy. That room's going to need to be revamped. And we've seen that through the 2024 cycle and somewhat in 2023 as well. Jonte Cook, Ryan Niblett, and DeAndre Moore, now with Ryan Wingo and Aaron Butler, Parker Livingstone, Freddie DuBose. You got the 2024s. Let's break this into two sections. They're not done with 2024. There's still another guy on the hook, and that's the Marlin. And that is that's that man, Ryan Williams. And I know you've watched his tape. I've watched it. That might be the most dynamic 16-year-old receiver in the nation. He is ridiculous. And he's coming on campus on January 27th. Now, granted, we're going to talk more about that in future shows. And it's also noteworthy that KJ Lacey is going to come in as well. And that's the Texas quarterback commit from Saraland. And that's his quarterback. That's Williams' quarterback at Saraland. And so with 2024 recruiting, it's not done yet. They're going to bring in Ryan Williams for that visit, and they're going to swing for the fence. And what do you think they need to sell him on? Like the straight focus and vision. What do you think that sales pitch is going to sound like?
Rope them into that big picture view that the Mannings have about, hey, this isn't about just what happens in college. It's about setting you up for long-term success. How are you going to develop into an NFL wide receiver? Chris Jackson is, coached in the NFL. You're going to have 2 NFL quarterbacks throwing to you if you come to Texas. It's a pretty easy pitch. Look at all the NFL. The NFL is littered with Sark wide receivers going back quite a while. So it's an easy pitch. Now, Auburn's going to make it difficult. Alabama's probably going to make it difficult if they name Kalen DeBoer. He's got quite the story to tell with the receiver success he's just had. If it's Mike Norvell, he's got plenty to tell with the wide receiver success he's had at Florida State. So, there's going to be plenty to overcome. I'm excited about that recruitment more than I was a week ago. So that's a good sign for you fans. But there's so many moving parts with wide receiver right now, and they're all over the place, but they're all tied together as well. There's a huge Venn diagram of, what's going to happen, what's the team going to look like next year between, the guys that are on the roster, potential portal additions, and the Ryan Williams. The good thing about Ryan Williams is he's so talented. It doesn't really matter what happens in the other sections, whether it's, on the team or in the portal, you still take him. He's best player available. He's an NFL player. If he stays healthy, it's, little doubt of that. So, he's going to have a spot no matter what. We're going to have plenty to talk about at the end of the month. And, I'm sure there's going to be quite the buildup. But, yeah, he would be a big piece for next year. But even much more be that. I think Matthew Golden's going to get his lion's shares of catches next year. Jonte Cook is lined up, maybe a portal guy. But Ryan Williams is going to be too good to keep out of the class and too good to keep off the field if they can get him.
Absolutely. And like you said, another portal guy. We know that they're combing that database. They are looking, they are evaluating. Oh, yeah. You mentioned it in the moderator thread at InsideTexas.com. Come see us. It's a great time. It's a great community. We'd love to have you. Give us a shot to earn your business. You mentioned it's a fluid situation with wide receiver, and this is something you and I we've both tied in a lot on this subject here, especially in the last month. Portal. You got Silas Bolden coming to Austin this weekend. That's the water bug, 5'8", about 160, 165, 175 pound, little guy out of Oregon State. out of Rancho Cucamonga. And I got to be honest with you, I never thought Rancho Cucamonga was a real place.
Oh, yeah.
When I watched the movie Next Friday, I thought that was like a made up place for the movie. That's a real town, Eric. That's
I lived a couple towns over, and San Dimas from Bill and Ted's. That's a real place too. I lived a couple towns over from that one as well. So yeah, it's funny. I was thinking about Friday. We should probably have some Friday clips for our show since it's on Friday. I was thinking about that yesterday, but I didn't even realize he was from Rancho Cucamonga. But you know what? That guy is tiny, but he plays much bigger. He's tough. He's got a little bit of heft to him for being, that short and that light. He's a tough guy, and he'll go up and get the ball. He's very quick. He would add some dynamism to special teams, but we'll see. I mean, I don't know where else are you going with that section, but because even the portal section breaks into two. You've got the guys that are in and the guys who might be in that the coaches have to be cognizant of. But right. I think we're about to say something about CJ Daniels because you wrote something about him this morning as well.
Right. We Inside Texas broke that last night that CJ is going to take an official visit to LSU this weekend. He's supposed to arrive there this afternoon. And like you said, there's portal guys and then there's potential portal guys. Isaiah Bond was a popular name a couple weeks ago, and you had some intel on that. And then it kind of got quiet all of a sudden. And now I don't think that door is completely closed. What do you think?
Well, that's interesting because you could tell that Alabama has quite the leadership and culture over there because nobody's jumping in the portal. They're adhering so far. They're adhering to the administration's request that they give them 72 hours to figure this out. And I like that. Honestly, I like that. Jalen Milroe, I think you said he turned around to go back to campus to make sure everybody, him and Malachi Moore, I think the safety nickel guy. I love that. That to me is what leadership is about in football. So there's some guys trying to keep everybody in, but if they make a hire that's not the most exciting hire of all time, that's guys are going to get loose for sure. So I think right now that Texas and other schools are going to wait and see and just see what shakes loose because there's some talented wide receivers on that roster that could probably help Texas. Definitely, certainly next year, a couple guys can help even beyond. And I think Texas might want to look towards who can help beyond next year, just because 2025 is clearly the year that they're building towards, in which Texas is going to be the number one team in the country going into 2025. That's if you get a guy that's got multi-years of eligibility, that might be a little more appealing than a guy that only has one. So, yeah, I don't know. There's a lot going on at wide receiver. I've never seen this much between high school recruiting, even though it's after signing day. You've got Williams that still can sign in February.
Right.
A lot going on, man. And then 2025, you got juniors coming on campus soon. It's crazy.
Absolutely. And we had just posted earlier this morning, part of our recruiting humidor. I went into a wide receiver outlook for 2025, and we're not going to dive too much into that because we've got so much other good stuff that we want to cover. But guys like DeCorian Moore being a maybe, I can actually segue that into junior day. Let's tackle that one a little and just touch on that for a few minutes. It's big because a DeCorian Moore is a strong maybe to come in. And listen, LSU is building a monster in 2025 already. Number one quarterback, Bryce Underwood. Number one running back, Harlem Berry. And the aforementioned number one receiver, DeCorian Moore. He's still a hard maybe. Colin Simmons swears on a stack of Bibles he is not letting that guy go anywhere other than Austin. I don't usually disagree with Colin ever. And so I like that. And also the position they're in with an Andrew Marsh, potentially Marcus Harris, another guy that could potentially be in for junior day. But to me, more important, and you mentioned this in pre-production, Brandon Brown is going to be in junior day. The Texas commits, 3 of the 4 are going to be on campus. Him, Emory Winston, and then
Anthony Williams,
the new linebacker out of Shadow Creek. And so the big one is Brandon Brown because there's no Bo Davis. And so how do you think that's going to shake out, and what's that conversation going to be like? And you can even, parlay that into potential D-line coach talk.
Yeah, well, I think the Texas should have its D-line coach before the junior day. You're going to want that for sure before Brandon Brown comes in. Otherwise, you don't want Brandon even coming in until you have that solidified. So, now to me, that's probably the number one recruit I'll be watching next week. We'll be inside Texas. We'll be outside of Moncrief. By legions. There'll be 4 or 5 of us there trying to interview every kid we can. But that's Brandon Brown's the one I'll be looking forward to hearing from the most. But I'm also curious, of course, like everybody else, who's going to be the defensive tackles coach. There's a lot of options out there for Sark to parse through, and probably even options we don't even know about. When there's an opening at a school like Texas, you don't always have to make the call. Your phone starts ringing as well. So I'll be curious. But yeah, junior day is going to be a lot of fun. I don't think I've anticipated one this highly in a long time, with the understanding that Texas has a chance to put together the number one class in the country, a realistic chance for the first time in a very long time. Not a team that just builds up to 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 and kind of just lands there at the very end, but one that can challenge LSU. LSU's off. That's just an early start. They've got 3 studs and then some other guys that a lot of schools could get and equal out with. But they're off to a good start. I know I get a lot of LSU fans hating on me all the time. I see them tagging me on their threads, but yeah, they're off to a good start. But Texas is going to be right there at the end of this recruiting class, based on the strength of this past season, based on the stability, and based on what they're going to do in the next season.
And I'll be honest with you, this junior day, we've been building this list out, I feel like, for almost 3 weeks. And this junior day has kind of a Mac Brown vibe, because Mac used to capitalize.
Why do you say, if the second you say Mac Brown, people are going to start asking us who's going to commit, because Mac was always going for commitments on junior day. Sark is a little more selective and patient, but now you open up that can of worms.
I meant it in the aspect that he knew how to capitalize on momentum. Get, right after that national championship, or right after that first Rose Bowl, get all those guys on campus as soon as possible. I mean, he's the godfather of the junior day. And then after the national championship, bringing in that group that all committed on the same weekend, the Sergio Kendall, the Eddie Jones, the Deion Beasley, like, it was huge. Yeah. Sark's kind of anti-Mac in that regard. Sark loves the long game. And, if you're selling cars, that you're not going to last very long.
Well, they'll fire up momentum when they can. After Arch, it's huge. And then, at the end of the 2022 cycle, they had to have it, but they really got on a rip with 2022 recruiting. So he'll capitalize on momentum, but he's not going to reach for a guy. He's not going to get caught up in the momentum himself. No. And I don't think he's going to try to falsify momentum and kind of invent it. Mac would invent it later in his career by taking a couple guys just to get the ball rolling. And that's not Sark's nature. But hey, all the studs that want to be on campus for Texas in January, I'm all for it. That gives us plenty to do, plenty to cover, plenty of intrigue, plenty to learn about. There's a lot to investigate. Who are the kids that have the good mental evals? Because we know there's going to be a cancellation process if guys don't quite have the mental eval that the program's looking for. So this is a good chance for us writers to investigate, learn the guys, learn the families. It's my favorite time of the recruiting cycle, is the very beginning.
Absolutely. And don't forget, in more anti-Mac fashion, Sark's also looking for culture builders. And I'm not saying other coaches don't look for guys that are great in the locker room, but we've seen on the ground how Sark operates in that regard. You could be a physical freak, but if you're not an emotional and a stable, central figure in that locker room, if you're not going to add on to the culture, they're not going to take you.
Yeah, and
he's in that position now, Eric.
Yeah, you don't have to be the world's greatest citizen. When we say football character, it's more about, hey, are you going to do the right things to improve the culture within the program? Are you accountable? Do you work hard? And those sorts of things. And then it just so happens to be that most of those types of people end up being good citizens off the field as well. But they're doing a very good job in the selection process of figuring out who they want, who they hone in on. If they back off a kid, they've got a reason for it. I know the Stargazers is always out there going, how can we pass on this guy? Well, there's going to be something they know about that you don't, because it's their job to investigate at a much deeper level. And they unearth some really interesting things that, you can understand why they pass on some of these guys.
Absolutely. We're going to wrap this one up with a very positive coaching development on the way, Eric. There's so much going on, like we said, in the last 72 hours on the 40 acres. And we feel like there might be some more stuff coming our way in the next couple days. Texas is definitely looking at always adding on, to their staff. In our X's and O's segment yesterday, we talked about, Nick Saban's bringing in those analysts, bringing in guys that had been doing it before, some cast off, some that just brought new ideas. And, he always wanted to change his stripes. We've seen Sark do a little bit of that, bringing in guys, like a Gary Patterson and that sort. And so I think this one is going to be a pretty big one for Texas fans. E, what do you think?
Yeah, I think they're going to be happy. I think a lot of people are going to be happy. It's a good one, somebody they've heard of before. And so, you're always looking at ways to upgrade. In addition to Gary Patterson, there's been Paul Christ as well. Joe DeCamillis played a big role in special teams this year, helped Jeff Banks get that #1 rated special teams unit. So, you're always looking to improve on the margins. Incremental improvement is how you end up winning a championship eventually, if you're always improving. And so I think this one's going to be both good for the program and it's going to, I think fans are always looking for these sorts of moves to see that their staff is being proactive. I think they'll be happy as well.
Absolutely. And the beauty of that is you got to come see us at InsideTexas.com to get the latest. That's the absolute bones to it. Hey, please like and subscribe the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel. Please come see us at InsideTexas.com. We're running a special right now. You get a month for $1. Hey, let us earn your business. Come join the community. Let us enjoy this momentum that Texas is in right now, because football is going well on the 40 acres, and we're enjoying this every day. It's something new for us every day, and it's an absolute blast to get our team to be with our group. Come see us, come hang out with us. Please like and subscribe the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel. Please come see us. Until our next episode, I will see you soon, Eric. Hook 'em.